Hello, this is Alan. This is from Chabot College. This is Entrepreneurship 20, and we are going to be revising the unique value proposition. So the first thing that we got to do is make sure that we have a working. So the first thing we should look into it is making sure that we all have kind of like the same understanding. So let's understand it as this. The unique value proposition basically is going to mean for you and us is what you do uniquely well and for who. It's very much that simple. Now, when you start breaking this down is when it starts getting a little bit more difficult because we have to first establish what is it that you do and how do you do it uniquely well and who do you do it for. Those are the three major components for you to be able to arrive at a unique value proposition, which is going to give you then your benefit statement or your promise of value. So let's look at the next step. So what is your idea? This is something that you've got to already have. This is something that you've been contemplating as when you started taking a marketing class. So the first thing you want to know is, what is it that you want to do? In other words, or in simple terms, what are you willing to deliver? What is it that you will be working for? Let me put it to you in one more example. For the consideration of money, you will do X. It really boils down to looking at it from that perspective. What is it that you're willing to do in the exchange of money? So, for example, when you take a job as a salesperson and you sign the contract to any company, you're basically saying that for the exchange of the salary that you're taking, you are committing yourself to sell X amount of items of whatever you're selling. Let's say if you're a customer service employee, you're saying for the exchange of money, whatever paycheck is that you're getting, you're willing to take all the calls from customers that need servicing. That's basically when you take a job, you're saying, in consideration of money, I am willing to do X. When you start your own business, well, it's the same idea, right? If you're starting, for example, an ice cream shop, you're saying for the consideration of $4.95, I am going to give you ice cream. Now, how do you do it, whether it's uniquely well, that's entirely up to your own abilities, which is the next question that you must answer. So say, for example, you are at an interview, you want to take that sales job, for example. You are going to have to answer what makes you unique. You're going to have to answer what makes you better than most. You have to give them some descriptive words of why they should hire you. This is the same thing when you start looking in why you should anyone buy your product or services. And by uniquely well, the reason why that's phrased that way is that that means just better than most. If you're just starting up, you can't say that you're the best. Because when you're the best, it means that there's only one. At the top, the best means that there's no room for second, because that is just second best. And if you're starting a new company, if you're starting a new project, and you haven't proven yourself to say you're the best, well, that is just not true. And that will immediately turn customers away. But maybe you're better than most. Now, you can't say you're better than most because then most people will turn away. But you can't say you're the best. You've got to identify what are the descriptive words that makes you unique or that makes it uniquely well in whatever it is that you're doing. Right? Sometimes we get into simple terms like friendly. Are you an intellectual company? Do you have an intellectual team that is put together? It is kind of hard to identify what should your value or your benefit statement should be at this point for two reasons. Well, one, I don't know what you want to do. And two, I still don't know who your customer is. But at this point, when you already know your idea and you know you're going to do it, you want to answer what makes you uniquely, what is it that you can do uniquely well so that you can answer that for your customers. Start looking at those descriptive words. Try to stay away from generic words. We'll talk more about that in a few seconds. But for now, start putting a list of descriptive words that actually say what you do uniquely well about your business idea. The next thing that you wanted to do is talk about, well, who are you doing it for? This pretty much is asking who is your target market. You must know who your customer is. Now, I know you're starting your business idea, and in your business idea, you have a general concept of who you want to service. Right? We'll have a subsequent class that will talk about finding your target market or identifying your ideal customer. But for now, we're going to assume that you already know your business idea, that you're already starting to build the list of the things that you do uniquely well, so you can start having those descriptive words. And then we are going to start identifying who you're going to do it for. The idea is that you may want to know if you're creating a business for other business people. Maybe you're working with other professionals. Maybe you're working for busy intellectuals. Or maybe you're just opening a daycare and you want to make sure that you have a unique value proposition for kids that like to play with puzzles. Maybe your unique value is that you have a center that has many puzzles that keeps the brain active for young kids. Or maybe you have another idea that is more like a boys and girls club where people are going to go and play hoops and basketball and pool. It all depends what you are wanting to do and who you want to do it for. Then you started putting these ideas together. Now, I do want to make a quick differentiator between benefits and features. A lot of people use this interchangeably. It's really not. There's a small definition here. The reality is that features are all the descriptive words, all the things that you deliver in your company, whether you're fast, you're strong, you're tasty, you're secure, you're safe, you're cool. Those are all things that you can describe. The descriptive words that you come up with, those are all features. Features are things that you offer. A benefit, however, it's a feature or set of features that your customers value. For instance, if you don't value speed, you're probably not likely going to buy a sports car. But if you value the way that sports cars look, you may just buy the one that looks like the sports car. For example, you can have a Mustang who's a 6-cylinder car. It looks just like the really fast Mustang V8 5.0, but you don't really need all the other bells and whistles. You just like the way that it looks. So in terms of your benefit, the benefit is that you like how the car looks. You don't necessarily value all the other features that goes from 0 to 60 miles an hour and X amount of seconds. That's just a brief example of trying to make you see the difference between features. Features is all the things that a product or a service will deliver. The benefit is actually what your customer will value. Now, the reason why most companies put a long list of features is because they're fishing. They want to make sure that one of those features becomes a benefit to you so that you become excited about buying it. But once you know your ideal customer, then you can start grouping where you know almost for certain that this is going to be something that your customers will benefit from. And therefore, at that point, you can start talking about it from the perspective of benefits. Because a benefit is something that your customer actually wants. A feature is something that you do hoping that they would want. Now, once you have the strongest feature, that will become your strongest benefit. You want to absolutely identify what is the singular, most important benefit that the customer will expect from you expecting to get from you. That is essential in building your value proposition, because based on that, it's going to circle around that notion. Because the unique value proposition now becomes the promise of value. When you say you're going to do X, whatever it is that you say you're going to do it and how you're going to do it becomes your promise of value. This is when you're telling a person that in the exchange of money, you will deliver this. That very first benefit, that is strongest benefit that you say that your customers would want, that becomes the promise of value. You will be rated based on that. Over time, the promise of value becomes your brand. Over time, that becomes what people will know you for. It becomes synonymous with your logos, with your pictures, with your names. But in the beginning, your unique value proposition, it must incorporate the strongest benefit, and that becomes your promise of value. That's what people will remember. And this little statement here has to be very strong and concise so that you can create a marketing campaign around it. So before we do this, let's look at avoiding being generic. The first thing you want to do is that the unique value proposition must convey your strongest benefit, your promise of value. But you want to not, it's very often that we see uniquely generic happens when your UVP or a statement can be used for almost any company. You hear a lot of companies, oh, come to my restaurant because we have a stronger, faster, better service. Better than who? Faster than who? Stronger than who? Oh, we have really tasty food. Really? Who's making the taste and what kind of taste buds? You are so far, your descriptive words are not strong. You can almost put it to any company, right? Come to my restaurant. We have really good, friendly, and excellent customer service people. That could be any restaurant. As a matter of fact, that could be almost any company. So when a person does not know what they can do uniquely well, they sometimes reach out to do some generic, unique statements. Excellent customer service, you almost will find it in every single other company. They will always say statements like this. So you've got to go for something that it becomes deeper, unless you become, and your intent is to become the leading company that defines customer service. Let me give you a few examples, right? When you look at this logo here, something comes up to mind, that's Apple, right? And Apple right now in later years has become synonymous with the iPhone and maybe the iPad and the MacBook Pro, and so on and so forth, and Mac computers and so on. But at some point, and even today, the promise of Apple is that they're a company that values ingenuity who happens to do whatever it is that they're doing nowadays, right? I mean, we look at Apple nowadays. When it first started, it was doing Mac computers, so you can still apply it back then. It would say we are a company that values ingenuity who happen to do desktop computers. We are a company that values ingenuity who happens to do phones. There are a company that values ingenuity who happens to do watches. They're in the watch business nowadays, right? They're competing for the wrist space, right? They even have a brand or a luxury level that is in the $20,000 range with some of these other Breitlings and high expensive brands in the world. Right? Whether they will succeed in that space or not, that's not what we're here to evaluate. But what we're here to evaluate is that the promise of Apple is that they will bring something that values ingenuity. That's part of the reason why maybe some people right now are kind of disappointed with some of the later products, because maybe it's not going to that promise of value. Right? When they release a new version of something and doesn't have that much ingenuity behind it, it doesn't have that much leap going forward, then you feel a little bit cheated. Right? You may be experiencing this right now. And that's the reason why you want to make sure that unique value proposition is beyond just a small set of words, because it's a feeling that people will have with. Now, you may or may not know this little company here, but this is San Francisco Love Tours. Right, at San Francisco Love Tours, we aim to educate and entertain with the vibes of peace and love, freedom and adventure. So all of our tours will always have that theme, will always have that vibe. So our promise to value is to educate and entertain with the vibes of peace, love, freedom, and adventure. Right? It happens that we do a 2-hour tour. It happens that we do a 4-hour tour. It happens that we do a private charter. But anyway we do it, we would always stay to our core, which is to educate and entertain with the vibes of peace, love, freedom, and adventure. So our unique value proposition now becomes very unique to us. You couldn't take this to another big bus company. Gosh, you couldn't even really take it to any other Volkswagen company, because our brand, our colors, and everything is very unique to itself. Now, sometimes we can get confused and say that San Francisco Love Tours, oh, we're very unique because we have a 6-passenger vehicle and we can go down streets that no one else can go. Well, that's not very unique. While that's a good competitive advantage because we can do that and we can do it better than most companies, what we do very uniquely, and we do it uniquely well, is that we educate and entertain. And we do it through the vibes of peace, love, freedom, and adventure. So at this point, what you want to do is make sure that you start looking deep into what your company is supposed to do or wants to do, and start being unique and start telling everyone about it.